What if the person you loved the most became the reason for your death? And what if your soul returned, not for love, but for revenge? My name is Alex, and I am 29 years old. Life for me was simple and steady, shaped by the rhythm of teaching at school every day. My world was not filled with drama or grand adventures. It was filled with chalk dust, lesson plans, and the chatter of students. My mornings began early, usually before the sun fully rose. I would prepare for class, sip my tea, and head to the school, where I spent nearly the entire day. When evening arrived, I would return home, eat quietly, and rest. That was my life, predictable and ordinary. Next door, however, lived a girl named Lily. She was 25, graceful, and carried an air of innocence. The very first time I saw her, I felt something stir within me. It was not just attraction, it was a deep liking, as though she was meant to walk into my life. I could not ignore the warmth I felt whenever I noticed her smile or heard her soft laughter drifting from her window. Though my days were monotonous, the thought of Lily added a spark to them. Little did I know that this spark would soon ignite into a fire that would change everything forever. One evening, fate opened a door for me. Lily came over to our house. I remember the way my heart pounded when she entered, her presence lighting up the entire room. My nerves battled against my courage, but I knew this was the moment I had been waiting for. Without hesitation, I proposed to her. The words left my lips with a trembling voice. "Lily, will you marry me?" For a moment, silence filled the air. My heart nearly stopped as I waited for her answer. Then, she blushed softly, her cheeks glowing with warmth, and nodded. My entire world shifted in that instant. From that day forward, we shared countless conversations that felt sweeter than honey. We talked about dreams, about life, and about our future together. We laughed at silly things, enjoyed small moments, and spent time building the foundation of something beautiful. Soon, we went out for dinner together, holding hands, exchanging shy glances, and smiling like two people who had just discovered the magic of love. It did not take long before our relationship grew deeper, stronger, and more certain. Before we knew it, our bond turned into something sacred. Marriage. Our marriage began with joy so pure that every day felt like a gift. The first 2 years passed quickly, wrapped in laughter, love, and a sense of completeness. Lily and I cherished each other deeply. She became the heart of our home, the warmth in every corner, and the reason my days felt brighter. Lily stayed at home most of the time, caring for our house. She cooked meals, cleaned, and made our little home feel alive. I admired her gentle nature and her ability to make even the simplest tasks feel meaningful. Meanwhile, my life continued with its usual routine. I would wake up early, eat the breakfast she prepared, get ready for work, and leave for school. By evening, I would return to her, tired but eager to see her smile. Our nights were often filled with quiet conversations over coffee, or playful jokes that ended in laughter. We didn't need grand adventures. The happiness we shared in our small world was enough. In those 2 years, I truly believed I was the luckiest man alive. I loved her with all my heart, never imagining that the same heart would one day be shattered beyond repair. One ordinary morning at school, an announcement was made that filled the staff room with excitement. Our school was organizing a trip for teachers and students, scheduled 3 days later. The thought of leaving home for a short while was refreshing. Though I knew I would miss Lily, I went home that evening and shared the news with her. She smiled softly, encouraging me to go and enjoy myself. When the day of the trip finally arrived, I packed my belongings, carefully clothes, toiletries, and a few books. I kissed Lily goodbye before leaving, reminding her to take care of herself while I was away. She waved from the doorway, her eyes calm, though I could not read what truly lingered behind them. Traveling with colleagues and students felt light-hearted. The bus was filled with chatter, laughter, and music. For 3 days, I lived in a different rhythm, away from the daily routine. But while I was away, I often thought of Lily at home, picturing her waiting for my return, imagining the smile she would wear when I walked back through the door. I had no idea that during my absence, a storm was already brewing in my home. That evening, while I was away on the trip, Lily decided to order a pizza for dinner. It seemed like such an ordinary act, yet it marked the beginning of something that would destroy everything we had built together. The delivery boy arrived at our door, a young man named Henry. He greeted her politely and handed over the pizza box. But in Lily's mind, a dangerous thought began to take shape as she stood there, holding the warm box in her hands. A whisper passed through her heart. Why not keep him with me for a night? My husband isn't home. I should have some fun. That single thought became the seed of betrayal. She invited Henry inside, and he accepted with ease. The night unfolded in a way that broke the vows we had once made. Lily laughed with him, shared food, and eventually surrendered to a temptation she never should have allowed. The walls of our home, which once held purity and love, now witnessed something unfaithful. By the time morning came, Lily's heart had shifted. She had crossed a line that could never be undone. And yet, this was only the beginning of her descent. The following night, Lily could not resist. The taste of forbidden excitement lingered in her thoughts, pulling her deeper into the trap she had created for herself. She picked up her phone and called Henry again, asking him to come over. Without hesitation, he agreed. When Henry arrived, Lily welcomed him warmly, as though he belonged there. They spent the night together once more, ignoring the truth that she was already married, ignoring the vows she had made before God and before me. Slowly, the boundaries of loyalty dissolved, and Lily's heart began to attach itself to him. What began as a reckless impulse was now turning into a dangerous bond. Meanwhile, I was away with the school group, unaware of the betrayal unfolding behind my back. I laughed with my students, took in the beauty of new places, and felt the simple joys of travel. My heart remained steady with the thought of returning to Lily. I imagined the meals she would prepare for me, the way she would embrace me at the door, and the comfort of resting beside her after a tiring journey. I had no idea that while I dreamed of her love, she was giving it to another. 3 days passed quickly, and the trip finally came to an end. On our way back, I felt a mixture of exhaustion and relief. I longed for the comfort of my home, for Lily's cooking, and for the peace of sitting with her after a long journey. Before reaching the city, I took out my phone and called her. My voice was warm, but also filled with hunger and weariness. "Lily," I said, "I'll be home soon. Please prepare some food for me. I'm really hungry." She agreed quickly, her voice sounding calm, though I could not see the panic that had just taken hold of her. At that moment, Henry was still inside our home. My call startled her, and she hurried to send him away. In her rush, she made sure everything looked normal, as though nothing unusual had happened. When I finally arrived, Lily opened the door with a smile. She hugged me tightly, her warmth melting away the tiredness from my body. We ate dinner together, shared coffee afterward, and laughed softly as though the world was perfect. That night, we went to bed side by side. I never imagined the darkness hiding behind her gentle touch. The next morning, my body still carried the weight of travel. Unlike my usual routine, I did not wake up early. Instead, I lay in bed, resting under the sheets while Lily prepared breakfast in the kitchen. The comforting smell of food drifted through the house. Yet something felt strangely different in the air. Asleep. I stirred slightly and heard her voice soft, hushed, and urgent. She was whispering into the phone. I could not make out every word, but the tone carried a secret that pierced through me. My heart began to pound. Who could she be speaking to so secretly, this early in the morning? I forced myself to stay still, pretending to sleep. A part of me wanted to rise immediately, confront her, and demand the truth. But another part of me feared what I might discover. So I kept quiet, my eyes closed, listening as she ended the call and walked back into the room. She slipped under the blanket beside me, her movements calm, as though nothing had happened. I remained silent, but the seed of suspicion had already taken root in my heart. From that moment, peace began to slip away from me. The following day, I went to school as usual, but my mind was restless. No matter how hard I tried to focus on my students, the image of Lily whispering on the phone haunted me. Every laugh in the classroom, every sound of chalk on the board, felt distant compared to the storm building inside my chest. Doubt gnawed at me, whispering terrible possibilities. By midday, I could no longer bear the weight of uncertainty. I asked the headmaster for leave, pretending to feel unwell. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, I made my way back home, determined to uncover the truth. When I arrived, I avoided the front door. Instead, I circled to the back and carefully slipped in through the window, moving quietly so that Lily wouldn't notice. My breath grew shallow as I crept inside, and then I froze. Before my eyes was the sight I had feared most: Lily with Henry, wrapped in an embrace no wife should ever share with another man. My worst nightmare had become reality. They noticed me instantly. Shock filled their faces. My heart broke into pieces. Yet before I could even speak, fear and violence erupted in a way I could never have imagined. The room erupted in chaos the moment they realized I had seen them. Lily gasped, her face pale with fear, while Henry's eyes darted wildly like a trapped animal. My heart was torn apart, not only by their betrayal, but also by the violence that was about to follow. Before I could say a single word, Henry's hand reached for something tucked beneath his jacket, a pistol. My breath caught in my throat. I froze, unable to believe what I was seeing. "Wait, stop." I managed to cry, but my plea was drowned in panic. His hands shook, his finger twitching on the trigger. Fear consumed him, and in that fear, he pulled it. The sound of the gunshot thundered through the house, echoing in my ears. Pain exploded in my chest as the bullet tore through me. My knees gave way, and I collapsed to the floor. Blood poured out like water from a broken vessel, staining the ground beneath me. I looked up one final time, my eyes wide in disbelief, searching for Lily. Instead of comfort, I saw only terror. The woman I loved had become the reason for my death. Darkness claimed me, and my body lay lifeless. The silence after the gunshot was deafening. My body lay motionless on the cold floor, my blood soaking into the ground. Lily trembled, her hands covering her mouth as though trying to stifle a scream. Henry's chest rose and fell rapidly, the pistol still shaking in his grip. Neither of them knew what to do, but they both understood one thing: my life had ended in that moment. Fear took control of them. They panicked, whispering frantically, deciding what to do with my body. At last, they dragged me across the floor, struggling with the weight of my lifeless form. They carried me outside, their movements hurried and clumsy. My head hit the side of the doorway as they forced me into the trunk of a car. The drive was long, nearly 50 kilometers away from the city. The night air was heavy, and the silence inside the car was filled with dread. When they finally reached a deep ravine hidden by trees, they pulled me out of the trunk. Without a single word, they pushed my body into the darkness below. To them, it was the end. But death was not the end for me. My soul had only begun its journey. When my body hit the depths of the ravine, it was swallowed by silence and darkness. My flesh was broken, my life stolen, but my soul did not rest. Instead, I found myself drifting, pulled back toward the place I had once called home. My spirit lingered, bound by love, betrayal, and an unquenchable thirst for justice. Meanwhile, Lily and Henry returned to the house as if nothing had happened. Days turned into weeks. To erase every trace of me, they burned all my belongings, my clothes, my shoes, even the photographs that had once held our happiest memories. Flames devoured the evidence of my existence, as though I had never lived, never loved. Yet, their efforts could not erase me. My soul wandered through the rooms of that house. I saw them laughing together, cooking meals, living as though they had built a new life upon my grave. Their smiles were poison to me, twisting the knife of betrayal deeper into my spirit. 2 weeks passed in this torment. They believed they were safe, that their crime was buried along with my body. But I was there, watching, waiting. The love I once held had turned into something far more powerful: vengeance. The nights grew colder, and with them my spirit grew stronger. I no longer wandered aimlessly. I began to reach out, touching the world of the living. It started with whispers. In the dark, faint sounds that stirred Lily from her sleep. She would sit up suddenly, her eyes wide, but find nothing. Henry dismissed her fears, assuring her it was only her imagination. Then, one stormy night, I struck as they lay in bed. The windows of the house slammed shut with a violent crash. The noise echoed through the walls like thunder. Lily screamed, clutching Henry's arm, her face pale with terror. "Calm down," Henry muttered, pulling her close. "It's only the wind." But I knew they both felt it, the presence of something unseen. The air grew heavy, thick with dread, while shadows danced across the walls. Every corner of the house whispered of me, the man they had betrayed. Though they tried to sleep again, unease clung to them like a shadow. For the first time, fear had entered their hearts. They could destroy my body, burn my memories, but they could not silence my spirit. My revenge was coming closer with each passing night. The following night, I revealed myself with greater force. As Lily and Henry lay in bed, the silence of the room was broken by a chilling sensation. The air grew icy cold, and a faint drip echoed in the darkness. When they pulled back the blanket, their eyes widened in horror. Blood was spreading across the sheets, thick and red, soaking into the fabric. Lily screamed, her voice sharp enough to pierce the night. Henry leapt up, staring at the bed in disbelief. His hands trembled as he touched the crimson stains, only to find the blood real and wet upon his fingers. Before either of them could comprehend what was happening, the pistol, the same weapon that had ended my life, rose into the air. It floated above them, held by hands they could not see. Their eyes darted around the room, wide with terror, but I was invisible to them. Yet I was there, standing in the very room where they had once laughed, now ready to turn their laughter into screams. The gun pointed at Henry's chest, steady and unshakable. They could not escape the justice that was finally upon them. Henry's face drained of color as he stared at the floating pistol. His breath came in sharp gasps, and his body trembled. Lily clung to him, her screams filling the room. But there was no escape. The weapon that had once silenced me was now under my control. Without hesitation, the trigger pulled itself. The gun roared, and the bullet struck Henry directly in the chest, precisely where mine had pierced me. His body jerked violently, then collapsed onto the floor. Blood poured from the wound, his eyes frozen in shock, his final breath rattling before silence claimed him. Lily shrieked, stumbling backward, her hands covering her mouth. Her eyes darted around the room, searching desperately for the unseen force. She knew it was me. She felt my presence, even though she could not see me. Her heart pounded, her body trembling as she tried to flee. But she was trapped not by walls or doors, but by the truth. The man she had once vowed to love, the man she had betrayed and murdered, was standing before her in spirit, demanding justice. For Lily, the real nightmare had just begun. Lily stumbled toward the door, her trembling hands fumbling with the lock. Her screams echoed through the night, but no one came to help. The silence outside was thick, as though the world itself had turned its back on her. Behind her, the pistol rose again, floating steadily in the air. She turned and froze, her eyes wide with terror. "Please," she cried, her voice breaking. "Alex, forgive me." Her words shattered in the empty room, but her pleas could not reach me. The gun followed her every step, unrelenting. She darted toward the window, trying desperately to escape, but it was too late. Another shot rang out, louder than her scream. The bullet tore through her head. She collapsed instantly, her body crumpling to the floor in silence. The room fell still. The walls, once filled with her laughter and Henry's voice, now echoed only with death. Both of them lay lifeless, their betrayal paid for in blood. I hovered over their bodies, my spirit trembling. The revenge I had sought was complete. Yet, even in that moment of justice, a weight pressed heavily on me, because behind the fury, I still remembered the love I once felt for her. The silence after their deaths was suffocating. I stood over Lily's body, my spirit trembling with conflicting emotions. Justice had been served. Henry lay cold, struck down as he had struck me, and Lily had met the fate her betrayal demanded. Yet, as I looked at her lifeless face, memories of our happier days flooded back. I remembered the first time she smiled at me, the warmth of her laughter, the way she used to prepare my breakfast with care. Those moments, once the foundation of my joy, now burned like cruel reminders of what I had lost. I had loved her more than life itself, and in return, she had given me death. A hollow ache filled my soul. My revenge had been necessary, inevitable. It brought me no peace. Instead, it deepened the sorrow that clung to me. My spirit wept, unseen tears falling in the emptiness of that room. Though I had taken back my honor, I was still trapped, bound, not by chains, but by love that refused to die, even after betrayal. I was no longer a man of flesh, cursed to linger between the worlds of love and vengeance. The house, once filled with warmth and laughter, became a tomb. The walls that had witnessed my love now echoed with tragedy. Neighbors whispered about strange noises at night, the sound of footsteps when no one was there, windows slamming shut, and whispers carried on the wind. Fear kept them away, and the house grew silent, abandoned by the living. But I remained. My spirit wandered from room to room, unable to break free. At times, I would stand in the kitchen where Lily used to cook, remembering the smell of her meals. Other times, I drifted into the bedroom, staring at the empty bed where I once dreamed beside her. Each corner of the house reminded me of what I had lost and what I could never regain. The revenge I had taken bound me to this place. Henry and Lily were gone, but their betrayal still clung to me like a shadow. My love had turned into sorrow, and my sorrow had become chains that held me in the world of the living. Even in death, I could not escape her memory. Even in vengeance, I could not find peace. Nights blurred into one another as I drifted through the silence of the house. I watched the seasons begin to change outside the windows. Yet time meant little to me now. What mattered was the ache inside, the wound that no revenge could heal. Sometimes, I would hear echoes of the past Lily's laughter ringing faintly in the halls. My own voice calling her name, the rustle of her dress as she walked through the rooms. These were not real sounds, only memories replaying in my mind, but they felt vivid enough to reopen my grief again and again. I wondered if things might have been different had I never left for that trip. If perhaps Lily's heart would never have strayed, but deep inside, a new betrayal had already been living in her, long before Henry ever appeared at our door. Still, I loved her. Even now, as her lifeless body lay cold in my memory, I could not erase the love I once carried. It was this love that chained me here, this love that refused to let my spirit move on. I had won my revenge. Yet I remained a prisoner of love, of sorrow, of my own broken heart. My revenge was complete, yet peace never came. Instead, I wandered endlessly, a shadow caught between the living and the dead. I was neither free to rest nor strong enough to forget. The house, now silent and empty, became my cage. At night, the wind howled through the broken windows, carrying my whispers with it. Passers-by swore they heard voices calling from within, or saw faint figures standing by the curtains. Some claimed to see a man's outline, my outline watching from the darkness. Fear spread through the neighborhood, and soon no one dared to come near. I had become the guardian of my own tragedy, bound to the very place where love had turned to betrayal, and betrayal to blood. My story was etched into the walls, into the silence, into the very air that lingered there. But beneath the anger and sorrow, one truth remained. I had loved Lily with all my heart, and that love had destroyed me. It had taken my life, my peace, and even my rest. And so I remain not alive, not gone, but forever here. A spirit weeping for love, and chained by betrayal. My name is Alex, and this is my eternal curse.